I'm having a morning, guys. Sorry I'm late. So, this morning I wanted to talk about a couple of things. One is if you're in the Master Manifest Your Dream Life Academy, then I'm going to put a poll up in there. And that poll is going to be me asking you for what things going forward would be of most help to you. So if you can answer that, that would be amazing. So I'll be putting that post up sometime later on today. So I apologize for being late today. I have had a cold all week and I started to lose my voice. So it was, this week in losing my voice and getting this cold, it really brought home the idea of what I talk about frequently, which is a healing crisis. Now, a healing crisis, let's just say this, healing crises don't just come from times that you are attempting to physically heal, right? When you are moving through things you need to physically heal. It also, healing crises will show up even when you are trying to change major underlying and unconscious beliefs that are causing you to have repeat experiences that you don't desire. So the one I often give, just because it's easy and people can relate to it, is sort of saying, I'll never date that kind of person ever again. And the very next person you date ends up being exactly the same, right? And it's like consciously you're saying you don't want to date that person, but subconsciously your mind is literally tuning you into that experience again and again. So that's something I wanted to talk about because whenever I am working with people on a private level and we are moving through various issues, crises, up levels, whatever, and whether we're working on something that is physical healing of getting to the root and physically healing whatever the body has going on or whatever the body is sort of raising a red flag about, or if it's something like we're working on some underlying beliefs, some maybe unworthiness or patterns where I just recently was working with the most wonderful woman who is completely brilliant and wonderfully spoken, so accomplished, but has a fear of getting on stage speaking about her soul's work, her real soul's work, the stuff that she's, I think, been put here to do. And the root of that was very much from childhood. So sometimes we're working with some of those things. So whether you're working with a physical thing or something like that, a pattern or unconscious belief that is causing problems in your life, you will often encounter some form of a healing crisis. And a lot of times people will think, it's a breakdown, it's, there's something going wrong, they're going the wrong direction. It will oftentimes seem that way because you'll just get going on something like manifesting your dream life. You'll just get going on shifting those beliefs. You'll just get going on, changing whatever that pattern is that your body has been talking about, showing you through pain and disease. And then suddenly you'll either get a flare up of that pain and disease, or you will have all manner of seemingly insanely bad luck or bad things happen, or all of a sudden this huge upsurge of very negative feelings. And there'll be a moment, and I can tell you with all my clients, and maybe with many of you who've already been doing the Manifest Your Dream Life, maybe you've gone through some of these, it will come up and it will feel like things are going very wrong, and you will feel like very, very bad. Whenever I see that happening, and it usually happens in the first 10 to 14 days, 7 to 14 days of really making some big, big changes in your life, this will happen, right? And so for me, when I see it, it actually says we're on the right path. It actually tells me, yes, you're going in the right direction, but it feels horrible. It sucks. It's not something that's an enjoyable experience on any level, and it can cause you to doubt yourself. What it oftentimes is, it feels like your body will give you kind of a kick on the way out. Like, hey, do you really want to heal this? Is this really something you're serious about? Or, call it the universe, the source, goddess, God, I don't care what you call it, whatever your higher power name is. It feels like the universe is kind of saying, hey, are you serious this time? Because if you're serious, we're going to start moving some things. And when we move things, it can be a little chaotic. And I always say, like, when you kind of go through something like this, I want you to imagine that the deck of life is actually being reshuffled in your favor. But in that shuffling moment, it really feels like things are going very, very wrong indeed, or very bad. So I wanted to give you this example because I just went through this week, and I felt like, it's always good for me to tell you exactly what I'm going through as well. So I've been going through a very major change in myself, in being able to fully express and feel that I deserve to be heard and deserve to have what I want. And I'm finding ways to actually speak up and calmly say when something's not okay with me or not right. So for a very long time, I had a pretty distinct and big pattern of people pleasing. And, in that pattern, what happens is there's a lot of anxiety and stress when you start to express your own perspective or needs in a situation. Now, truthfully, mine came from childhood and from growing up. And very often, when I would try to express that something wasn't okay with me within, whether it was my family unit or outside of that, there would often be this just massive blow up. So instead of kind of like, I hear what you're saying and, let's talk this through, it would be a lot more of this massive blow up that I would be trying to somehow reason or logic myself through. And so because of that, I realized that I had a kind of an alarm set within me of when I spoke up and expressed my needs, it was going to be this big blow up, or I was going to lose somebody's love, or it was going to be so awful I couldn't stand it. It was just going to be so exhausting and tiring, and it wasn't even worth it, right? So I did a lot of healing around that recently. Really, really worked on myself, really looked at the root of that. And a lot of that is for, I identify myself as a very nice person, a very kind person. And, I was kind to everybody but myself in a lot of ways. So I'd be very kind, or I wouldn't want to hurt somebody's feelings, but maybe they weren't living up to something that I needed or wanted in a situation. Or maybe there was something going a different direction or whatever. And, when you carry that and you don't speak up, it starts to impact you on so many levels, and it starts to impact you mentally and emotionally and spiritually. You start to really wear yourself down. And so it's really important that we confront those kinds of things. And I'm always telling you guys, I never ask you to do things that I do not do myself. I literally do all the work that I ask you, whether you're just watching this video in Manifest Your Dream Life Academy or you're watching it in YouTube. Whatever I give you guys as suggestions, I promise you I am doing them myself. Authenticity and being who I say I am, I guess that's being authentic, is very important to me. So I've been doing this work, and I've been working on expressing myself and calming that immediate trigger in me that causes me to just want to shut down. Okay. Because, growing up, shutting down was just in some ways safer. It wasn't actually better for me in the long run, but it was safer. So I did. So because of that, there's a lot of a response within me that makes me want to go back into that what so-called feeling safe place. And you may feel that as well. So there's probably things in your life where, perhaps growing up or perhaps through experiences as a young adult or an adult, you learned that it was just better to keep your mouth shut, or it was easier if you just agreed with someone, or it was less painful. But the problem is, in the long run, it's not actually less painful because we wear ourselves down. Okay. So those are the things that I've been looking at and confronting, and maybe something that hopefully can be helpful for you, that I've been working on this and changing it. And I'm through it and I feel so much better, but I had to express some things. It kind of, life will always give you some testing grounds. It's like, oh, I healed that. I think I healed that. And then suddenly you will get a few experiences where you're like, you know what? I'm not comfortable with that. And I do need to say something. Okay. And so I want you to notice that pattern in your own life as well, where you may be working on whatever it is. Maybe you've identified something in the Manifest Your Dream Life. You're working through it in the Flow Method book. where it's a station 1 or a station 2 or whatever it is, and you're working through it and you're working through that core issue, and then suddenly you start having some experiences brought to you that are like, okay, all right, you gonna change it? You really gonna do that? And that's exactly what happened to me in the last couple of weeks. And so I did meet those challenges head on and was able to speak my truth in a very calm way. I did feel a little bit of triggering, but I knew that that was to be expected because these are very old patterns and I'm confronting them and I'm committed to changing them. So your body is still going to have what I call a memory hologram, where you have sensory experiences and responses that are attached to certain core beliefs and core patterns. And so when you encounter and confront that core pattern again, even as you've worked on it, there still can be some sort of a trigger response, right? And that happened, for sure happened for me. Now, that's the point where you can say, this is really uncomfortable and I'm just going to shut it down. Or you can say, nope, I'm changing this pattern. And I said, nope, I'm changing this pattern. So I did that. And it was fine. Like nobody blew up at me. I have some things that I need to discuss with a couple of people, but we're discussing it in a very healthy and balanced way, respectful way, which is great. However, right after I did handle it, I did voice what I needed to voice. And even you'll notice, and if you follow me on social media, you'll notice that some of my posts have been a lot more, I'd say, authentic and bold, I guess, more how I actually feel about things. And so in doing that, what did I immediately develop but a healing crisis? I confronted it, I changed it, I'm committing to changing to that pattern. I did the hard work to change the pattern, but what did I get but a cold? And that cold, I lost my voice. So specific to the exact issue that I'm working on, right? So for a lot of people, this is where they would stop. They'd go, "Oh my God, I'm getting sick. I'm having a flare up. I did this thing. I changed this pattern with this guy or this girl, and then, oh my gosh, sorry, I thought I had my do not disturb on, but there we go. I'm confronting this thing, and then like something blows up, right? Or I've changed this. I'm going to start believing in my worth. I'm believing that I'm bringing abundance in, and you get in a car accident, right? And suddenly it's like $6,000 or whatever to fix the car, right? And so it seems like you're going the wrong direction. So in my case, thankfully, because I do this work, the second I got this cold, and it was all in my vocal cords and in my chest, right? I started to have tightness in my chest, some stuff in my lungs. And of course, that's your emotional center. And this is a very emotional thing for me to change because it does have a lot of roots in how I felt that I was allowed to handle things for a good portion of my life, right? And so there can be reasonably enough, like feelings of sadness, feelings of anger, feelings of whatever. So that's the emotional center here, right? So the second I got it, I was like, I know what this is. I know this is a healing crisis because I have been working on that breakthrough. For a lot of people, so this is where I want to encourage you. So if you've been doing the Manifest Your Dream Life Academy, or you've been doing the flow method, or you're doing body language, or any of my other programs, and you're working through these things, even the empathic badass, because you're still changing some of the patterns you believe about yourself as an empath in that program, you will hit a point where you will have some things put in front of you that are saying, okay, you're changing this pattern. Do you really want to change it? And at that point, it will seem like something is really wrong. I have a beautiful client that I've been working with, a private client, and we've been working really hard on some pretty deep self-worth stuff, right? Came from a long time, came all the way from childhood, then a really bad marriage she did not deserve at any level. That also really diminished her sense of self and sense of value. And needless to say, she then had some triggers that showed up that were very hard and made her feel very horrible and very sad. And she thought something was really wrong with me. She almost didn't want to tell me she was going through a depressed period or a down period or feeling bad about herself, because she thought that meant like I would take it like something was wrong or she wasn't healing. And in fact, I looked at it and said, yeah, this is expected. Let me help you get through this. Because once we get to the other side of this, once you move through this really sucky part right here, you are going to feel so much more whole. So I want to emphasize to you, whether you are changing your life for the better, doing the Manifest Your Dream Life, doing any of these things, working with me on mind, body healing, or whatever it is never, ever a linear experience. It is always healing is always going to have some down moments. You aren't going to go straight up. It's not what happens. When you are up leveling in any area of your life, you are not going to go straight up. You are going to go up, and then something's going to happen, and you're going to go down, and you're going to question everything. And then you're going to go up, and then something's going to happen, and then you're going to go down. You're going to question everything. It's going to happen. So this is where it's really important that, one, recognize and pay attention to when you are having this kind of a crisis, that it is in fact probably a breakthrough. And the second thing is, this is where it's really important to make sure that you have a group of supportive people. So that may look like being in my Manifest Your Dream Life Academy, which the link is down below. If you're not already in there and you're watching this on YouTube, jump in. We have a community there. We have a group there. You can ask for help and support, especially if you are going through tough stuff. That is part of what I love doing, is helping people support people through that. You are, again, body language is one of my, if you're going through healing and you want to know what's going on and actually start healing, listening to the messages of your body and heal, that's a great community. Or if you'd like to do this professionally, I am so freaking proud of my healing practitioner certification. And one of the things that I get the most in there is that the practitioner students that come in feel like for the first time in their life, they have complete support. So if you happen to be a healer or a coach or a therapist and you happen to be watching this and you would love that level of support, please choose to reach out to me or click the link under this and let me know, because I'd love to talk to you. It's a very lonely life in a lot of ways of being the healer, because who's helping you along the way? And that's part of my mission, is to not only teach healers and coaches and therapists how to use my methodology and be able to get people incredible results in just minutes, but also to help the healer heal themselves so that they can really have incredible change and growth for themselves and for the world. So thank you so much for paying attention to this and listening to this. If you made it this far, make sure to click the links under the video. Please, if this is something that's helpful to you, please comment, please share, and please subscribe. I would be very, very grateful, because it's really, this year, I'm so focused on getting my mission out into the world and truly making an impact on the world and helping people heal. So every time you comment, like, or share, it's helps me, and you're helping the world in just one little moment, tiny little moment, you're helping the world too. Thanks so much. Love to every single one of you, and I'll see you again really soon.